Bruchim Aboim b'shem Irgun Shir Torah, Moses Bosson. I'd like to welcome everyone to tonight's shir, all the men here in the main shul, all the women upstairs and downstairs, and everyone listening in through the telephone system and watching through the live stream. Bruchim Aboim. I'd like to give a big ashikach to Rabbi Pomerantz for sponsoring tonight's shir. Rabbi Weinberger. We'd also like to give a big ashikach to Elam Shem for sponsoring tonight's shir as a schus for Shlema from Mordechai David ben Leah B'Soisha Chayli Yisroel. Irgun Shir Torah relies on the Tzibur sponsoring the shiurim to help us conduct these programs and make all the arrangements. Great expenses are involved. Call Irgun Shir Torah 718-851-8651 or email tapecenter@yeshivanet.com to have disgrace schus of Avosas Torah Derabim. Tonight we have the cover to have with us once again Rabbi Moshe Weinberger, Shlita Rav Agudas Yisroel of Flatbush. About Simchas Hachaim, it's my cover to call Rabbi Weinberger for tonight's Rosh.
First of all, a great yashikoyach to Irgun Shir Torah, who helped turn summer, instead of this blank 2-month space, turn it into an inspiring, enlightening, and a Torah-dik summer. It's not just the shiurim that are said, but it's the whole concept of bringing in that summer doesn't have to be just a pause of life, but rather could be a very real slice of life. Hashem should give them, they should be able to continue in their Ablatzes Torah for many years to come. Torah Yidden, when it was discussed the topic of this evening, so Rabbi Bald and I had a conversation, and I made a suggestion of a certain topic. He didn't like my phraseology, and therefore he decided he's going to call it Simchas Hachaim. I never had a chance to get back to him if I agree or I don't agree with the topic, but I found it an interesting choice for the 3 weeks. That the 3 weeks we should have a shir on Simchas Hachaim, what is real Simchas Hachaim, sounded to me in the beginning odd. However, I will answer that question in the course of our discussion. But if we ask the question the way it's phrased in the title, what is real Simchas Hachaim, the question is really not a question at all. To be fair, Gemara in Shabbos, the Gemara says that Shlomo HaMelech has 2 psukim in Koheles that seem to contradict each other. One says, V'shibachti ani es simcha. Simcha is a great thing. Now, we're not going to use the word happy for simcha. I find happy very superficial. The United States is based on the pursuit of happiness, and they're still looking for it. So we don't want to use the word happy. We're going to use the Torah-dik word simcha. So Shlomo HaMelech says, Shibachti ani es simcha. But in a different passage, he says, L'simcha mazuoi. So what is simcha? It's nothing. Just to be besimcha. So the Gemara answers, there's a difference between simcha shel mitzvah and simcha she'eini shel mitzvah. Simcha shel mitzvah, shibachti ani es simcha. I praise such a simcha. The simcha of a mitzvah. But a simcha, it's not a mitzvah, is a waste of time. That's what Shlomo tells us. So what does it mean, simcha shel mitzvah? Rashi says an example. He says, Kegoin hachnosas kala. That means Rashi understood it doesn't mean the simcha that accompanies a mitzvah, but there are times when there's a mitzvah to be besimcha. So if you have the zchus to take your daughter down to the chuppah, or to enjoy someone else's taking their daughter down to the chuppah, that's a mitzvah to be besimcha. That's called a simcha shel mitzvah. That's the way Rashi seems to learn. There are times when it's a mitzvah to be besimcha, and that's real simcha. Because the simcha itself is a fulfillment of a mitzvah. However, many Mefarshim do not learn like Rashi. And they learned the definition of Simcha Shel Mitzvah means at the time you're doing a mitzvah, you should be besimcha. When a person is zeicha, merits to be able to do the command of the Bairei Olam, he is zeicha. He has the schus to be able to carry out Hashem's word. That's something to be happy about. Now, why is that so important? Finished. End of discussion. That's real simcha. Real simcha is simcha shel mitzvah. What's our job tonight? To understand a little bit why that is so, and what we can do to achieve that, and why it's so important. The first thing a person has to understand is the Gemara says, sometimes we're called an Eved, and sometimes we're called a Ben. Sometimes we're called the servants of Hashem, and sometimes we're called the children of Hashem. So the Gemara says it depends. When we do the will of Hashem, we're his children. Where we don't do the will of Hashem, then we're his servants. This is a very difficult Gemara. If we are not doing the will of Hashem, we're not his servants either. The Gemara says if we do his will, we're his children. If we don't do his will, we're servants. Servants also have to be doing what their master said. So the lashon of the Gemara, Ein Oisin Ritzayna Shamakim, is an Eved. It's hard to understand. What do you mean? If you're not doing the Ratzon of Hashem, you're not an Eved either. You're nothing. No connection whatsoever. There's a connection of a son, there's a connection of a servant. The answer is, Zakabitza Petersburg. Ritzayna Shamakim means to go beyond the letter of the law. Every mitzvah is, if you wish, a tree, a root, as the Chinuch refers to it. And from that they become branches. So that it's not just, okay, this is what I have to do and not more. That's the Eved. He's not doing Ratzon Shel Makayim. He's doing Tzivoy Shel Makayim. He's doing the commandment of Hashem. But he's not doing the will. He doesn't look into the reason why it was commanded, so he should be able to take it to the next level. But the son wants to please his father. He wants to create it to be happy with him. So he's a son, he's a Ratzon. Years ago, I heard a shmooze from Rabbi Weinberger, Montreal, Rosh Yeshiva, Zecher Tzadik Levrach. And he wanted to explain the pasuk, Vayosher be'eini Hashem tasa. You should do what's Yosher be'eini Hashem. What does it mean, the eyes of Hashem? And he explained it thus. A father comes home, had a hard day at work, plots down in his chair, and asks his son, could you bring me a cup of water? I'm going to say it the way he said it over. The son goes to the fridge, and he takes out a beer, and he pours it for his father, and the lashon he used was, he said it in Yiddish, and the father took a smack of it from the beer. I do not have an English translation of the word gismakavit. Gismakavit, if you ever gismakavit in your life, you know what it means. If not, too bad. That's it. So gismakavit. Somebody goes over the son and says, you know, you're a myrid. You're a rebel. Your father asked for water, you brought him a beer. You're a myrid, a rebel. He says, nah, my father asked for water, but in his eyes, I saw he wanted a beer. Vayosher be'einei Hashem tasa. That's what Sinai shel Malkai. You don't just do to be yaitza. So when a person does mitzvahs b'simcha, it takes him to a new level. And he does the mitzvah with all the hidurim. But I understood it a little more. Two people could do the exact same thing. And one is a ben and one is an eved. I remember being in Eretz Yisrael, speaking to a bacha, he was learning in the mirror. And you know, a bacha in America, the yeshivas in a way are much more regulated, much more rules. You go to Eretz Yisrael, yeshivas, large yeshivas, you don't really know what's going on. You hope they're learning Torah in Eretz Yisrael. You'll hope they're telling to the yeshiva. But I met a Talmud of mine, he was being very matzliach in the mirror, and I asked him, why are you being matzliach? And he said, in America I learned because I have to. But over here I'm learning because I want to. And that's the difference. So when we speak about Ritzoyne Shamakam, beside Reb Itzel's pshat, that we're adding something to the mitzvah and doing it properly, we are also doing it with the Ratzon of Hashem, and therefore becoming connected to the Rabbeinu Shalom in a very strong manner. You don't have that if you don't do the mitzvah b'simcha. So what the Simcha Shal Mitzvah does is the Simcha of the mitzvah turns us from an Evet into Ben and makes a different relationship. There's something else about the Simcha Shal Mitzvah. It creates us into a different being. It changes us. It changes us so that it affects our children and Dairei Dairis. I remember I was by a chasna once, I went to a Pam Zatzal for a bracha. And he quoted me word for word the Hagdama of the Iglei Tal, where the Iglei Tal says one should be sos umisanig b'limudai. He should rejoice in his learning, v'nivloyim b'domoi, and it becomes absorbed into his bloodstream. U'medabikim hashchina. The person has a change. You know, if you do a mitzvah without simcha, it's done. But it doesn't do anything to you. Asher, kiddushanu, b'mitzvaysav, creates that we become different. The Rosh Hashanah says, somebody's a kaisen, is an angry person, can have children that are kaisanim. Because it's a physical being to get angry. Call it raising blood pressure, if you will, but that's what it is. But similarly, if a person is b'kedusha and he has Torah and mitzvahs in his bloodstream, that's going to be passed down. The Beis Halevi explains this in a myriadic fashion. So Pitlan Tillen says, Ashri ish yireyas Hashem chafetz b'mitzvah. Happy is the person that fears Hashem and loves the mitzvahs of Hashem greatly. What's going to happen? His children will be gibar ba'aretz, dar yisharim mavayrach. He's going to have wonderful generations, strong children, children able to withstand the winds of the world outside. What does that have to do with it? So the Medrash says, Chavis b'mitzvah. He wants the mitzvahs, v'lo yischar mitzvah. Not somebody who wants the reward, but someone who wants the mitzvah itself. And here's how we'll explain it with a marshal from the Magid Midubna. Two people didn't have any children, Rebbe. They went to the Rebbe. You can make up in your story any Rebbe you want. And the Rebbe said, Ruvain, you're going to have a son, he's going to be a Talmid Chacham. Shimon, you're going to have a son, he's going to be a bandit. In English, it's called a bandit. He's going to be a real chavraman. Okay? We can have children. Even by the Ben Rosh, you see, they bow down, anything can happen. Reuven has a child, Shimon has a child, and they send them off to Yeshiva. And it comes the first PTA. Shimon walks in and he goes, who knows what this teacher, Mora, Rebbe's going to say. And Shimon knows what the Rebbe said about his son. He walks in, and the Rebbe Mora says, your son is wonderful. Everything we say he does. He gets along. He's a tzaddik. Shimon doesn't say anything. Maybe one time my mother got a good report by PTA, and she asked the Rebbe if she mixed me up with somebody else. So, okay. Reuven walks in all proud, and the Morah says he has a lot of potential. I was once a principal in a school, and I took in a bacher, and he was a lot of trouble. I called up the principal of the elementary school. I said, what's going on? He said, you didn't read my comment. What's your comment? Comment says there's a lot of potential. That's right, but nothing happened yet. He just has a lot of potential. So Shimon doesn't go back to the Rebbe. He's very happy if the Rebbe made a mistake. But Reuven goes back to the Rebbe. And Reuven goes back to the Rebbe, and he asks the Rebbe what's going on. The Rebbe says, Shimon's son is a shtikla bal taiva. He does things when there's a reward. You give him a lollipop, he's good to go. 3rd grade, 4th grade, give prizes. When you get to the older classes, and they're not giving out the rewards anymore, he's done. He'll make trouble. Your son is a fellow who only does things when he understands. So the lollipop doesn't entice him. When he gets older, and he's going to understand, then you'll shep nachas from him. A person who's chafetz b'schar mitzvahs, loves the reward of mitzvahs. So he loves reward. So his child also loves reward. I know what kind of reward his child. His child might want the reward of mitzvahs. His child might want gold. His child might want silver. I know what the child will want. But the one who loves mitzvahs itself, and he's chafetz, he does simcha mitzvah. He does the mitzvahs because he loves the mitzvahs. That goes into the bloodstream. And those children will be gibar ba'aretz dar yesharim mavayrach. You know, if let's say somebody's having a problem with shidduchim, and because his nose is too big, so he decides the eitz is to have a nose job. Fine, good. Baruch Hashem, after that went geschmiert till he had his first son, and son was born with a nose bigger than his was. So Gornish can help the nose job. So you can't fake it. If you love mitzvahs, it's going to be there. If not, it's not going to be there. So we have a second concept in Simchas Mitzvah. Not just it binds you with Rabbi Shalom, but it changes you. And it creates an everlasting power for generations. But on the simplest level, Simchas Mitzvah, make sure that you do the mitzvah. If let's say you go to a doctor and he tells you must exercise every day for 45 minutes, and you're really not interested, there's going to be 20 reasons why you're not going to do it. It's cold, it's hot, where, when, I'm busy. He didn't mean every day. But if you take to the exercise, and you look at it as a chance for growth and improvement in your physical self, you'll do it regardless. So you see the fellow running down Ocean Parkway with his gloves and his mittens and his hat, and it's freezing cold, you don't want to go outside, but he's living for that exercise. If you have Simchas Mitzvah, if you are able, as the Pele Yoyed says, to comprehend the greatness of a mitzvah, then there'll be nothing stopping you. Nothing stopping you. How do you come to Simchas Mitzvah? You need Havana, you need Seichel. Rabbi Chanan speaks about it in the Gei Amunah. How do you get Amunah? How does the Rambam? The Rambam says, how do you get Avos Hashem? Let's talk about the Rambam. How do you get Avos Hashem? The Rambam says, how do you love Hashem? How do you command somebody to have a feeling? Either you have it or you don't. Either you love spaghetti or you don't love spaghetti. I remember years ago, my Rebbe Reb Chaim Schmeltz, Zechrein Livracha, made fun. There was a pitcher on the Yankees. He was an Italiano. His name was Dave Righetti. And there were signs all over. Dave Righetti loves spaghetti. Finished. End of the story. So I should eat spaghetti because Dave Righetti loves spaghetti. What's one have to do with the other? He's an Italian. I don't like spaghetti. So when I eat command about, you should love Hashem. So like the Rambam, you look in the Bria. You look at creation. It's the Rambam in Yad. And you see the Chachma that went into this world. Mibisari Yachsa. Look at your finger. Look at a tree. And you say, Azah Chachma. I want to attach myself to such Chachma. And in Sefer Mitzvahs, the Rambam says he can get it through Torah, because it says, if you don't like Chachma, it's not going to help you. And if you go through life and you never pause to study a tree, to study life, you won't come to love Hashem. So when we talk about loving a mitzvah, Simcha shel mitzvah, sometimes Simcha is natural. Sometimes Simcha has to be created. You need a thought process to be happy. The Brisker Rav, who everybody thinks was a very stern, nervous person, was not. They write on him that his house was a house full of simcha. Full of simcha. He was doing the Dvar Hashem. And the Brisker Rav said, you find that a child is usually very happy. Lahavdil Alef Alfi Avdolos, I heard recently a report that a child can smile and laugh 3,000 times a day. An adult 20. That means we lost 2,980 smiles in the course of time. Why is that? It didn't say. Brisker Rav said, a person is born naturally besimcha. He's naturally besimcha. Something happens along the way, and he lets it lose his natural. The natural, because I'm created to serve Hashem Yisbarach. What can be greater? But we lose it with time, and we lose that natural simcha. Azarul atzadik ul Yisroel simcha. Let's translate. A light is planted for the tzaddik. He doesn't have it now. He's fighting. He's fighting. But in Azarul, there's a light planted for him. Yisroel, if the battle is over, and a person already a yashar, then he has simcha right away. Ours are rule in tzaddik, abel Yisrael simcha. So we explained a little bit this Gemara of simcha shel mitzvah and the three components that lie in the godless of it. One, that we will not be distracted from doing the mitzvah. Two, our relationship to Hashem Yisbarach. And three, what it does for us and for generations to come. Having said that, now we owe Rabbi Baldi Hashakayach. The first Churban Beis HaMikdash steht in Parshas Buchon Koisai, Tacha sheshlo yavadetos Hashem Elokecha b'simcha v'tov leiva miroiv kol. That was the issue. The issue was they didn't do mitzvahs b'simcha. That was the issue. My Rebbe Pesach Stein Zechatzad the Kosh Lavrocha asked, because of that kumt as a churban, they did mitzvahs. Because they didn't do it b'simcha, should be such a churban. And in the Gemara that says Shalei birchu b'Torah tchila, they didn't make birchas haTorah. Is that a reason for such a churban? Is that a reason for the thousands and thousands of karbanos? And he explained that that's where it started. It starts when you don't have simcha. When you don't have simcha, we already explained, you get distracted. You're disconnected. The Messiah is ruined. And anything can happen after that. And all the other areas will come. The simcha shel mitzvah is our great protection. Connecting all the forces of the universe and beyond that try to take us away from Hashem Yisbarach. But I would like to translate this pasuk al pi the divrei of the Mefarshim. The Mesivta Chachma says the pasuk reads as follows, because we got to figure out the last two words of the pasuk. Mei roiv koil. So the Mesivta Chachma says you read the pasuk as follows. Tachash le'avadas Hashem Elokecha. Period. Why? You didn't serve him at all. Because b'simcha v'tuv leiva mei roiv koil. Because your happiness was into something else. Yeah. Not just you didn't serve Hashem b'simcha. You didn't serve Hashem because you did not find happiness in serving Hashem. You found happiness in Roiv Kol. You found your sim. Where is your joy in life? Is your joy in material possessions? Is your joy in physical pleasures? Or is your joy in doing a mitzvah? We have a power of simcha. I use it right or use it wrong. I heard from Rav Hutnam, shame Rav Hutnam. We find there's an interesting thing called sport fans. Sport fans. Take your choice. Baseball, football, basketball. Depends if you're a Met fan. Whatever, fine, good. Baseball, fine. I'm a fan. When the team is doing good, everyone comes to see the game. All of a sudden, they're not doing so good. No one's coming. And if you really love your team, why don't you go? So they're losing, but you love them, don't you? You're a fan. So Vutna said like this. Why does a person become a sport fan? This Rav Hutner's husband. A person the whole day is a loser. He's a loser. Wakes up in the morning, maybe his wife gets along with him, doesn't get along with him, should not machabed him. He goes to work. The boss gives him a hard time. On the train, there's no room on the R and the N and the 2 and the 3. If they're coming, they're not coming. Finally, he goes up to his 3rd floor apartment, and now he's going to be a winner. He's going to attach himself to a team, and that team's going to be a winner. Now he's a winner. Gewaldig. What if the team loses? He's weiter loser, double loser. He's not interested. He's already a loser. He doesn't have to be a loser again. Rav Hutner, why does a person want to be a winner? Why is that so important, a person to be a winner? Everybody has intrinsically in himself the ratzon to conquer the Yetzer Hara. Of them, it their simcha. The simcha of winning, the thrill of victory, is when you conquer Yetzer Hara. Go ahead, conquer it. The person that has a problem, let it be with the minutiae of Shabbos, let it be with finding time to learn, let it be with whatever it might be. But if you conquer that, that's why you want to be a winner. If you don't use it for that, so you got to use it for something else. You have to find your victory in life somewhere else. Simcha is, we want to be happy, to use the English word that we don't like. We want to be besimcha. But is it going to be from Rav Kyle? Is that going to give us the simcha? I once saw a magazine picture of the strongest man in the world. That's what he was claimed. Strongest man in the world. And this strongest man in the world, I think he was able to pull a train. I'm not sure exactly. Pull a train. But then he had Yelamachla, and he was very, very weakened. And there was a picture of himself, looking at a picture of himself. A picture of himself in his weakened condition, looking at himself when he was strong. And what's happened from them? Nothing left. But when a person does a mitzvah, it's forever. Where did our brains go? There are people who are great businessmen. We know this thing called an investment. Someone calls you up and says, if you invest in this, then 20 years from now, it'll pay for your children's chasna, your grandchildren's yeshiva, whatever. So that's called an investment. Why are we so short-minded that we only see what's in front of us? We should be besimcha with something that's going to pay us for years to come, for eternity, if you want to be exact, what it's going to pay for. This ratzon, as opposed to have to, answers a very shvera kasha in Pirkei Avos. Rabbi Yossi ben Kisma said, Pamachas, one time he was going and he met a person on the way, and the person told him Shalom. He said, Shalom. He said, Rebbe, where do you live? I live in a city. Great Talmidei Chacham. He says, Rebbe, maybe you come live with us. And he says, if you give me all the kesef and zov, I go, you're toughest in the whole world. Any door, that's Lashon. Any door I'm not living except. Now, in the parasha, Bilam seems to say the same thing. Bilam doesn't go. And Balak says, why don't you come? I'll be machabed you. And he says, listen, even Balak gives me malay basic kesef zav, I'm not coming. I can't come. So Rashi, he's dreaming about money, nefesh rechava. So Yossi ben Kisma said the same thing. Give me all the money in the world. So what's the difference between Yossi ben Kisma and Bilam? Bilam talks about money. Even if you give me money, I can't go. So then he's told nefesh rechava, and he's put down one of the 3 traits that shows that he's not like Avraham Avinu. And Yossi ben Kisma says the same thing. Give me all the money in the world. So if you want a simple answer, the simple answer is that Balak didn't say a word about money. Balak's about covered. All of a sudden he says, if you give me all the money, we weren't talking about money. No one mentioned money. But Yossi ben Kisma, he was offered money. He said, come, I'll give you money. He said, I don't need money. But the Nachlas Yankov, the Nesiva, says, no, listen to the Lashon. Bilam says, I can't. I'd love to. I'd love to. If you give me a house, I'd love to, but I can't. What can I do? Rabbi Yosef ben Kiva says, any door, I'm not interested. I can't. I don't want to. I want to do Dvar Hashem. Even a minig. To do a minig. To be able to makashe b'shem a minig. I was going through the Orchos Yosha. They came out with a new English Orchos Yosha from Chaim Kanievsky. And over there it says, one night before Pesach, he didn't feel well, he went to sleep. So the Rebbetzin came to check on him. He says, what's the matter? He can't find the lulavim that he always burns with Bedikas Chametz. So the Rebbetzin tells Reb Chaim, no, Mr. the cleaning lady put it away. We'll find it tomorrow. So he still was very uncomfortable. She went to sleep. She wakes up an hour later, Reb Chaim is not in his bed. She sees the light on upstairs in the attic. She goes to check. Mr. He's learning in his room upstairs. He's not there either. The front door opens. He went to check in the garbage to see if the lulavim were there or not. So Reb Chaim, it's tomorrow. 3 o'clock in the morning, he wakes her up. I found the lulavim. Lulav, it's a minig, and everyone does it. And who saves the lulavim? Some do, some don't. No, but Reb Chaim, a minig Yisroel is also part of serving HaKadosh Baruch Hu b'chol psiu psia. So Reb Chaim felt bad. He couldn't do it. My Rebbe, Reb Chaim Stein, he asked an interesting question. He said, on Tisha B'Av, in the camps, in all the bungalow colonies, we don't learn Torah even with small children. So he said, the small children don't really enjoy learning. So why don't we learn with them? They're not having simcha from it. So Rabbi Chaim Stein said, that's what we have to teach them. We have to teach them that learning Torah is a simcha. A Rebbe of mine, I'm sorry to say, but he said it himself. He called over his chavrusa once and he said to him, you want to do an Aveira? It was Tisha B'Av. You want to do an Aveira? Let's learn. Mishki can't speak out. Rogachev also couldn't hold back. Tisha B'Av, he sat and learned. My Rebbe, Rabbi Chaim Levine, Zechatzat Avrach, was nifta this year, had the following question. If somebody's an oval, he's not allowed to learn Torah, because Bikudi Hashem Yeshar Misam Chilev. But he's allowed to learn those halachas that were avelis, or probably also those parshias of Yirmiyah which are said. Does he have to learn them, or it's mutter to learn them? There are things he's mutter to learn. It's a mitzvah to learn Torah. Does he have to learn those portions of the Torah? Does he have to? He's permitted. And he said he's not sure you have to. Because a Torah that's not learned b'simcha is not really Torah. Only a Torah that you learn b'simcha is really Torah. And when a person sits down to learn Torah, he should be magdim to himself how fortunate he is. And perhaps the Birchas HaTorah that they didn't make was they didn't make that Birchas HaTorah b'simcha. So the Torah didn't become part of them, as we mentioned before. But the simcha of being a Yid, we want to take it to a higher level a little bit. You have a guf and you have a neshama. Who are you? Are you your guf or your neshama? These two halves of you are fighting themselves crazy. The guf enjoys ABC. Neshama enjoys ruchnis. Gam nefesh loisi molei of the medrash and mashal. A farmer married a princess. Whatever he brings her is to her like ridiculous. It's not like the luxuries in the palace. What are you doing for your neshama? I think that people are very unhappy because their neshamas are lacking. And when the guf wants one thing and the neshama, somebody wants to find stress as being in one place and thinking you should be somewhere else. Doing one thing and you think you should be doing something else. The Medrash tells us, Shuvi Shuvi Ashalamis, Shuvi Shuvi. And Klal Yisrael says, Matersu, what could you give me? So the Medrash says, the Goyim called the Jews and they come. We'll make you senators, make you governors, we'll make you officers, come join us. And Klal Yisrael says, what can you give me like the simcha of the Degalim? What can you give me like the simcha of the flags in the Midbar? The whole idea of the Degalim is like a little strange. What was the big simcha of the Degalim? Where'd they get the Degalim from? They watched the Malachim come down to Har Sinai, and they saw they had the Degalim. So they wanted the Degalim too. What are Malachim doing with the Degalim? A degel identifies who you are and what your mission is. So let's say, for instance, there was a degel for Yisachar. They knew they had to be the Chamor HaGoyrim and carry the burden of Torah. God knew they had to carry the burden of fighting. And Yehuda knew they had to carry the burden of Malchus, etc., etc. When they saw the Malachim, each Malach knew exactly what his mission in life is. The Shvatim wanted that. Let me live a life that I'm able to see exactly what I'm supposed to be doing. And that brings Simcha. Simcha is when you are accomplishing what you were created for. And that's what your neshama is chalishing. It even says, the reason you sing the Gunim on Shabbos, because the neshama Yisera comes down here and it's homesick for Shemayim. But when you sing a niggin, the shar of the neshamas is next to the shar and the gina in Shemayim, and the song revitalizes the neshama Yisera. What are you feeding your neshama? How could you be happy if your neshama is starving? The Stipler writes that the reason you find so many Yidden in the cults, all the different cults, many of them populated by Tyre, Yiddish Kinder, is because the neshamas are thirsty for spirituality. And if they weren't taught it, and they weren't given to it, and they didn't take to it, they're looking for it somewhere else. While the Yid and the Neshama veint. Neshama veint. To be close to the Rebbeinu Shalom. So a person has to be able, and the Guf then is happy too. That's the interesting part. As much as the Guf's not so interested, but if Sheshes comes along in Mesivta Sogla and says, "See, may I? My stomach should be happy with Torah, because the neshama, if it's satisfied, can pull the Guf along with it too, and then you're at peace with yourself, and that's part of Simcha. Simcha is to be content with yourself, happy with who you are and what you're doing, and that's only when you live a life with Simcha Shel Mitzvah. Let's take it to the next level. We have problems. People have issues. Real issues. Parnasa, health, emotions. There's issues out there. And yet we want to keep Simchas Hachaim. Now we're challenged. We're challenged. The Gemara says in Tainis that they're walking down the street with Eliyahu Hanavi, and Rabbi asked Eliyahu Hanavi, who on this street is a Ben Olam Haba? And he pointed to two people, and he went over to them and said, what do you do? Shas, Paiskim, Yerbeim. He says, no, we're about Chanim. The loose translation would be comedians, but that's not really. Well, what do you do? He says, well, we make people happy. This is what they do. So if two people have a fight, we make peace. And if people are upset, we cheer them up. It's a tremendous, tremendous thing to do. Why does that make someone a Ben Olam Haba? I think that the Gemara is telling us something else. If you live in this world, you're probably doomed not to have Simchas Hachaim. There's too many things going on in this world. Too many issues. But if you're a Ben Olam Haba, if you live in this world in transient fashion, if you live in this world understanding that the things that happen here are merely temporary, then you're able to be happy. Then you can have Simchas Hachaim and Simchas HaMitzvah. And I saw something fascinating for the first time. That even though Schar Mitzvah Mahal Maleka, the reward of a mitzvah is not in this world, the reward of Simchas HaMitzvah you get in this world. Listen to that. The happiness that goes into the mitzvah, for that you'll get schar in this world. These two people are Bnei Olam Haba. When they saw two people having a fight, how many people, Nebuch Rachman al-Litzlan, go to a levaya of somebody they were fighting with, and they feel so silly. This is what we're fighting about. This is what? Narishkeiten. And now? And if someone is sad, you put things in perspective. No one's saying there's no issues in life. There are issues. But we've got to keep the balance of Simchas Hachaim. And we can only do that by being an Olam Haba person. My Rebbe Reb Pesach, Zechariah Levracha, lost a son, 36 years old. It was a Bucky B'Shas. Unbelievable gadol, 36 years old. I once called him my Rebbe and I asked, how are you doing? And he told me, the pasuk says, Az Yashir Moshe. Mikan l'tchiyas hamesim in Attaining. Moshe sang, and since it says it in a future tense, Rashi is a little different, but therefore it includes tchiyas hamesim. So he said over, which is very uncharacteristic, and he said over a Chassidei Shavat, and he said, how could Moshe sing 4/5 of Klal Yisrael died in the Midbar, in their Mitzrayim? 80% wasn't there. How could you sing? So Rashi tells him, they're going to come back. The Rebbetzin was on the line, Zechariah Levracha, and she told him, Pesach, you never told me that. But the way he said it, I asked him how he felt, and he told me, Lulei Tairascha Shashuai Oz Avati Banyu. So I was thinking about this word Oz. The word Oz has no meaning. Let's translate. Lulei Tairascha Shashuai, if not for Torah, my delight, Avati Banyu, I'll get lost in my pain. What's the Oz? What's the then? So I think we could say Pshat here as follows. There's an Oz in life. You don't live for this minute. You're not locked into what's going on this second. You have a universal vision, a vision of future, a vision of Olam Haba, a vision of coming back to Bari Olam, a vision of Mashiach, a vision of Chis Mesim. Lulei Taras Chesashuai, Oz Avadi Banya, I will lose my Oz. You can't lose your Oz of life. The Oz of life says it's not just this minute, it's not just this hour, it's not just this day. Yes, this service. And to deny and invalidate it would be a mistake. And we have to understand someone's pain. But how are we going to survive our pain? How are we going to survive our pain? We do it with the Lulei Teiros Shashuai. If our delight is mitzvahs, if our delight is Torah, then we can have Simchas Hachaim. That's the Oz in life. How should I say? Yosef HaTzadik is sold by his brothers. He's sold by his brothers. You might have brothers that you wish you sold, but you didn't, right? You held back, and he sold them. And where'd they sell him? They didn't sell him from Flatbush to Borough Park, or to Lakewood, or even to Tom's River. Right? Where everyone is today, right? Sold to Mitzrayim, most decadent civilization of its time. And Yosef sees the Samashkim in prison. He's in prison already for 10 years. 10 years. For an act that he didn't commit. And he looks at them, and they're not happy. And he says, why are you not happy? What do you mean? They're in prison. They lost their jobs. They lost their livelihood. They're worried about their family. Yosef wants to know why there's Zoyafim. Vaisnes Yosef himself was not a Zoyafim. Why? Because it says Yosef Hashem Shemayim Shaga B'Fiv. Rashi says that Potiphar looked at him. He says, he's always talking about the Rebbeinu Shem, Yetz Hashem, Baruch Hashem. But it wasn't just because he's scared that if he doesn't say it, he can get struck by lightning or something's going to go wrong. He meant it. He lived with it. And when you live with HaKadosh Baruch Hu, then we understand. The bitachon. I was once in a taxi in Eretz Yisrael. It was a rough time in Eretz Yisrael. So I asked the taxi driver, are you scared? And he said, and I don't want to say my broken Hebrew, but I'll try. He said, Ma lafached. Anachnu b'cheikeim. We're by the mother. Jabashim's here. When a person lives with the Borei Olam, and he has bitachon, then that person can have Simchas Hachaim. Sheit HaPosek, Rabim Machoivim l'Rosha, V'ateach b'Hashem Chesed Yisovenu. The Rosh is suffering with much pain. And the B'teach, in the same situation, sees the Chesed Hashem. It's not different situations. Not the Rosh has bad things happen to him, and the Tzaddik. In the same Machoivim, in the same painful situation, the B'teach b'Hashem sees the Chesed Yisovenu. I know people, Holocaust survivors. What'd they lose? Come out the whole family. Some the whole family. And they lost a husband. And they lost a son. And they're able to move on with a Simchas Hachaim. Why? Because they come from houses where the Rebbeinu Shem knows what he's doing. He has a cheshbon. And this gave them a chizik to go on. And this gave them the Simchas Hachaim. We too have to work on this midah bitachon. Anything can happen to you, Rahman al-Islam, but no one can take away your emunah unless you let them. The emunah is yours. You can't always change a situation, but you can always change your attitude to the situation. And that attitude to a yid has to be, I'm b'cheikeim, I'm by the Rebbeinu Shalom. So let us sum up. We asked the question, what's real Simchas Hachaim? It's Simchas Shel Mitzvah. We tried to define why that creates Simcha. We tried to understand it on the different levels. We also said it means to have a vision of your neshama and of Olam Haba. And now we move forward. We answered Rabbi Ball, the question you had on Rabbi Ball. Why are we talking about Simchas Hachaim in the 3 weeks? The answer, because if the problem was we have to fix that up. We have to mitzvahs b'simcha, learn Torah b'simcha, and do simcha b'simcha. And then the Rebbeinu Shem will say, bonim atem l'Hashem. You're not avodim, you're children. Children, come home. Children, come back. Come back to Beis HaMikdash. Come back. Let's renew our relationship. Let it be taka that Shibana Beis HaMikdash Me'erev Yameinu saying Chalkeinu B'Sarasecha V'Sham Navodcha B'Yira U'B'Simcha. Thank you for listening. A good night.
Shem Irgin Shirei Torah, Moses Boston. I'd like to be Yashikayach to Rabbi Weinberger for tonight's inspiring drasha. I'd like to be Yashikayach to Rabbi Pomerantz for sponsoring tonight's shir called Rabbi Weinberger. I'd like to be Yashikayach to Anonymous for sponsoring tonight's shir of Shlema for Mordechai David ben Leah B'Sosha Choli Yisroel. Rabbi Say Irgin Shirei Torah relies on the Tzibur to sponsor the shiurim so we can continue conducting and organizing and bringing this inspiring Habbat Torah programs to the community at large. Call Irgun Shirei Torah 718-851-8651 or email tapecenter@yeshivanet.com to have this great schus. CDs of tonight's drasha will be available shortly. Ruchananya ben Akashem, Rosh HaKadosh Baruch Hu L'Zakis Es Yisroel L'Fikri Hibel Im Torah Mitzvah Shenem Adonai Chofes Eman Sidka Yagdul Torah V'Yad.